Hey guys, what's up? This is Scher talking. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll be discussing the news. We got two news. One is an event called Battle with Black Worm. This one is interesting because it will have the same caps as a story mode and also give you a chance to farm for SS SaGa. This character here is an AoE mage that can heal and deal damage with very good status, actually. One of the best farmable styles we had so far. I suggest you max her, as she can come in handy, especially if you lack AoE damage. And not just that, we also have a new banner, Ultra Deluxe Urpina. I was kinda expecting this banner to release because they kinda changed the order, and Urpina had to be released, especially before anniversary, since they have many banners that are, well, very expected. Many people are saving gems for those banners, so releasing Urpina before anniversary made sense. And yeah, that's exactly what they did. And there is one thing here, she was buffed like for insane levels. She's now very good, and people that wanted to skip her may even think about summoning for her now. Yes, but she comes with two other styles. There's Leonard and Elisabeth. They are platinum. They are not limited, so if you summon on this banner, you are only after Urpina. There's even a problem here because Leonard and Elisabeth are blunt specialists mostly. And we got many different blunt damage dealers with the IRPO banner and Gradius banner. So that's kind of overkill. We don't want 10. And now we have to spend to just summon for Urpina because the companion characters are not so good. Starting from Leonard, this guy has only two different styles. One is S, the other one is the current SS that we will be able to summon. 2 arrows for STR, 1 arrow for agility, and penalty on endurance. But you can get it back by using his S style. And for modifiers, he has 96% increase. That's kinda high for STR. 70 for endurance, not so bad. He has very terrible dexterity. I think that if he was used against Silver Dragon, he could even miss the attacks because of such a bad dexterity, and that is maxed. 57 is very low. 75 for agility is okay, and bad intelligence and average levels for Love and Shah. His will is not so bad on 61 as well. So, for skills, this guy is kind of a problem. He tries to be a single target attacker that has cheap attacks, but then he fails to have a nuke option. He's more for constant damage, but then he's not exactly that good on boss fights, so I don't know where you'll be using this guy. The first skill is blunt damage, B power 22 modifier. That's not so high, but for 4 BP, you cannot ask for more. But then the second one is the same as from Actor, from School's banner, is a 25 modifier B power attack with 5 BP costs. You can use this 3 times in a row. The first one can also be used more than 3 times in a row. The problem is just that you will not be able to start with the blunt attack, only if you start with the third skill. The third skill is an A power attack, 28 modifier, that's around the same as 6 BP cost skills, but instead of single target, it's a row attack. I don't think that the increasing power is justified by being row. I think they sacrificed some of the power just to add 2 elements. It's both slash and blunt. As you can see, you can kind of start with this attack and then choose slash or blunt after, but then the damage is lacking. You will not do so much damage with the row attack and not with the follow-up attacks, be it the first or the second skill. Sadly, that's how he was designed. And now for passives, the first one is a revive type. When he gets KO'd, he will revive with 50% of his HP. This is usually found on some tanks. And then the second one, on the start of a round, he gets a buff of STR by 20%. That's a good value, actually. Some characters have only 15. And for the 4. So the buff is better than just 15% increasing damage. You get more by the buff. But then, if you see, it's better for clearing waves, but which type of waves will this guy be clearing? Because he lacks power. None of his attack will be strong enough to clear waves unless you are facing very weak enemies. Even though his STR is so high, he doesn't have the power coming from the skills. So, there is only one good thing that you can get from inheritance, and I still don't think it's justified. And that is this attack here called Swing Down. Do you remember Global Exclusive Katarina? She has this attack as well. So you can start with 8 BP, and then you can use Beat Down twice. So he becomes a blunt specialist. And remember, we got way too many blunt attackers in the game. Swing Down is also not that powerful for 8 BP. It's only S damage, 37 multiplier. We already have characters like Ocelus and Nani that can do way better damage with 8 BP. 8 BP is like the future. There will be many attackers that will have double S damage instead of just S. And in the far future, he gets an upgrade to this another skill that he can inherit that deals very high damage for turn 2 attack. I don't think that is also worth investing in a character like him. Sadly, he's very below standard for current global and an easy skip. And now let's discuss Elisabeth. She is also from SaGa Scarlet Grace. She has 2 different styles. This one will be given during the event, and the first one is the current one that we can summon for. She gets 2 arrows for STR, 1 arrow for agility, and that's how she is built. Well, for multiplier, she has very high STR as well, 93%. That's not so bad for club users. We don't have many attack with the current club users in the game. She has 37 endurance. That's extremely low. She cannot be used in the front line unless she has the perfect resistance. 75 dexterity, that's pretty good. She will not be missing like Leonard. And 68 agility, that's pretty bad for the character that you want to attack first. She would not. And then we have average values for intelligence, will, love, and charm. Her multipliers are not so high. And then let's check the skills. The first one is Frying Pan. This one is not bad per se. It has 2 elements, it's both blunt and heat, has a chance to stun. Remember, her intelligence is not so high. At least it's not the worst. 52 is better than most of the buffers we have. But small chance doesn't really help. If it was medium, it could be reliable, but it's not. But C power 15 for 3 BP and double element is not bad. The second attack has A power 31 modifier and blunt damage as well. This attack is not bad, has higher damage output even than Heaven on Earth as a comparison in another 6 BP skills. And should be less interesting than the third one. Sky Travel is a triple S damage attack with 61 multiplier. It's not as high as some other triple S attacks, it's more close to the start. We start triple S damage with 56 multiplier. We have 61 here, so yeah, not as much as some other characters that have nukes like Hannibal or even Liza. Medium chance to stun this time instead of being small, so she can stun some targets. But when do we need stun? And if we need stun, we need a reliable stun because we need to cast stun every new turn. That's why stun unit with Bubble Pop can do it. The Farmable Berserker team can also do it because they have very high intelligence, and you can use them with Anima String formation to guarantee they will keep stunning. But Sky Travel is only used once, then she has to rely on Frying Pan, and Frying Pan will not be reliable. The damage is okay, not the highest, but for 12 BP I wanted more than that. Then we have Power Charge 2 as the first passive. That is what allows her to start with Sky Travel. Yeah, because it needs 12. That's very bad because she needs 4 turns to be able to use this again. Then we have the second passive that gives her a 40% chance of reducing the incoming damage. Reducing, not negating. She debuffs the damage by 35% and she counterattacks with the first skill, with a small chance to stun. She will not stun, she will not do high damage. It's a very high risk for a very low payoff. In my opinion, it doesn't work that way. If she would negate damage like the current tanks that we have, like Annie can negate, Cotton can negate with 40%. Like I said, we got 2 very interesting styles with Cotton and Annie. They have 40% chances of negating direct attacks. She just decreases the incoming damage. It makes no sense to use her, sadly. And she also has Fired Up 4. As you can see, she doesn't have much high damage. She has a costly skill. She doesn't have reliable skills. Sadly, both her and Leonard are not for current game. So now it's time to discuss the main goal for this banner, Urpina. Ultra Deluxe Urpina is now absolutely amazing. She has 2 arrows for STR, 1 arrow for Dexterity, and her A style has 2 arrows for Endurance. That's good because she may need this. Yeah, you will understand why. Then we have 94% for STR. This is still the same as Japan. 54 Endurance, that's not high, and I suggest you farm her Endurance even with her A style just to get a little more. Then 80% Dexterity, that's insane. We don't need that much, she would never fail. 77 Agility, she gets a bonus on Agility, and we need Agility with this girl because of how she operates. Then we have 50% Intelligence, 47 Will, so she's not good in any type of defenses. She has very below average Will and Endurance. She's not exactly good for taking damage. And very bad Love and Charm. She got 4 more points in Charm in Global. That's the only buff they made to her status. That we can even ignore that. Okay, so now let's get into the skills. In Japan, she has its first attack called Sword Spirit. This is the same in Global, but there's only one difference. Here it's 5 BP, so you could only reduce this to 4. In Global, it was changed for 4 BP base. So Awakening means 3 BP, so she can use this anytime she wants. It's a raw attack, interact, will not be countered, with D power 10 modifier. That's not high, that's not strong, but it's a cheap attack that can be used for row attacks. There are scenarios where you want this, but even if you don't hit for a row, you will want this skill. We will explain why. The second skill is called Cross Break, and this one was heavily changed for Global. It used to be 9 BP with S power 36 multiplier, and she will follow up with a Chase double attack. Let's see the first skill here. She will chase the enemy with 2 attacks of the first skill. So a single target attack and 2 row attacks with 7 VP cost. That's pretty cheap if you consider the time of her release. And very powerful as well. But then, they wanted to make her better on Global. Now Cross Break is 11 BP on base, or 8 when you fully awaken. Now it's a skill that can be awakened 3 times. And she will also follow up with Sword Spirit. But the thing is, she does not need a passive for this anymore. She will just follow up by the description of the skill. So it also got a buff in damage. It's now double S power instead of just S. Double S modifier comes from 45 up to 55. 56 means that it's triple S power already. I don't know if they will give her something around the start, like 45, or something around the end, more close to 55. But it's still pretty amazing, and I will explain why. The reason is that before in Japan, she will always activate the chase attacks with rank 1. All chase attacks they activate by passive only trigger with level 1. That's the same thing that we have with Fuse. His submachine gun is not so strong when he uses after Proton Rocket, because it's always on level 1. And it cannot change that. And now they change it so that Sword Spirit will use the same skill level as Cross Break. So gets Cross Break to level 99 and she will follow up with 2 Sword Spirits on level 99. Imagine that. Imagine that you can also bring a double S weapon. Remember Red, the newest version of Red. Red can attack with the full AoE attack and then use 2 single target attacks, and that allows him to clear waves with 2 enemies easily, because if he does not kill by the AoE, he will kill by the single target. That's a similar thing that will happen with this girl. Cross Break is single target. If she gets strong enough, she can kill 1 enemy and then kill the second enemy with 2 Sword Spirits. It will not happen all the time. Not all enemies will have low HP for this to happen, but it opens some interesting combinations, because remember, she only uses 8 BP. You can use this on turn 1 and on turn 3, or on turn 2 and on turn 3. It's interesting to have skills that uses 8 BP. Like I said, this is kind of like the future for single target damage, and she has it. A very interesting combination, and because of that, she beats Double Crush easily. Yeah, Double Crush with 10 BP will not do the same damage as her, and she also has a row attack that may even hit more than one target depending on the scenario. So a very powerful attack that makes her one of the best slash attackers in the game. Nice, a very good and welcome buff in my opinion. And then there is this last skill, Dual Wield Rain. This attack here in Japan was only a counter stance. When you use the skill, she enters the counter stance and she waits for someone to attack her to deal damage. Now it's not like that. She deals something very different. She goes for a single target damage with 31 multiplier. I think that should be the same because it's still A. And then she enters the counter stance, meaning that she can use this on auto. You can start the fight with this and she will just do... I don't know why would you do that on auto, it's mostly a manual skill. But then she will counter with both slash and pierce damage. So, in Japan this was a row attack, but it was changing for global because they wanted to make her better. It's now a full AoE attack with A power. That's insane, and that means that if you have many enemies attacking her, but with direct attacks, she will just keep countering. Not just that, if she counters, she gets even more BP to recover and do it again. Every time that she defeats a target, she gets 1 BP. She needs to defeat at least one target to get. So in scenarios where you use her own, you know, Hidden Dojo, or like I said, Robin Cup, or some specific events, every time she kills, she gets 1 more BP. So maybe you'll be able to use this attack like on turn 3 without much problem. Yeah, she needs to kill at least 4 targets for this to happen. Every time that she attacks, she also recovers HP. So that's interesting because if she gets attacked like 5 times, she heals 5 times. The healing's not so good. The healing's around like 90s or 100. We can even check here on Japan. Yes, 90s. Probably. So, remember global exclusive Monica? She can also counter with AoE. There is 2 different things about the 2. But Monica has lower status. Urpina deals both slash and pierce, kinda making global exclusive Monica unnecessary if you have Urpina, because she also covers for pierce. Very interesting thing, but remember, this is only for direct damage. This will not work all the time, but there will be some events in tower stages in the future where we'll have like 6 or more bosses and they can do direct attacks, and then you can take this into advantage and use it. Also very good for Hidden Dojo, but I don't have any problem with Hidden Dojo anymore since months ago. So this can be more interesting for newcomers or those that want to play on manual. But I still believe that the star of the build is the second skill with the follow-up chase. Oh, and in case you didn't notice, but this second passive is the same as the newest version of Emilia. But there's a catch. Here, when you use the second skill, Crossbreak, that has 2 follow-up attacks, she would trigger it 3 times. So, 300 healing, around something like that, and also 3 chances of recovering BP. That allows her to be good for boss fights. If you just consider the healing, she will heal every 2 turns, and also if she is used in content where she can kill targets and keep going, like even Sweet Coliseum. This allows her to attack with high potential without spending too much BP, and she can even get BP back by killing. If she kills 3 targets in the 3 different attacks, she gets 3 more BP. It's insane. Okay, now let's get back into the passives. There is one new passive here. The first one was about the chase attacks, but we don't need this anymore because the chase is included in the second skill. You know what she has now? She has increasing damage when she equips a sword. She needs to equip a sword. So, 15% increasing damage, and also fire the 5 that increases her damage by 20 all times, depending if the enemy is weak or not. So 35% increasing damage at all times, a chance to recover BP when she kills a target, and heal every time she attacks. So if you want to use her for the counter, It's okay to use it on turn 1, but then she doesn't have high will or high endurance to stay in the front of a tiger shark formation. She will receive very high damage. But then if she does not die, she can use it again, maybe if you have enough BP, but it's still a risk. We have to remember that the counter stance that she has is not perfect. And now look on this list. We have Urpina on the top and Forneus here. Forneus is a character that can be compared to Urpina for counter. But there's some difference between the two. Urpina will always evade direct attacks when she uses dual wield rain, and always counter direct attacks. For Forneus' case, he will receive damage, although he has passives that decrease incoming damage, like I said, also very high endurance and will. But because he receives damage, he has a different risk. Even though he can survive, if he gets attacked with too many attacks, he may not survive. But the damage is higher even than the current buffed Urpina. But because his attack is both pierce and cold, you can still have both for different scenarios. Forneus will get released alongside 3 other very good styles. One is black, the other one is the second version of Julian that makes Julian even better, and a version of Boston with the highest damage for blunt in the game. Very similar to Liza, but even higher. So if you don't want to summon for Urpina, just know that in the future you have a similar character, but with a different risk, that will come with 3 other limited styles. That is Boston, that's a very strong blunt attacker, Black, and Julian. The second version of Julian makes Julian even better, although you need the first one to make him perfect. Now let's get back to Urpina, because we still haven't done talking about her yet. We need to discuss another style that is a Platinum style that has a very interesting skill that is useful for UDX Urpina. Let's check it here. The first skill is called 2 Sword Stance. This skill gives her 3 BP. Itself and fast, so it's only for herself. When you awaken, it's a free skill to use. So let's say you just used her skill with 10 BP. Then you think that now it's time to recover BP to be able to use another skill. What do? You use 2 Sword Stance. On the next turn, turn 3, she will have 9 BP. Yes, 9. If she killed at least one target with the first turn, she will be able to use the counter stance again on turn 3. She only needs to kill one target. Depending on the situations, that will be very interesting. Right now, we don't have boss fights in global with more than one boss. We had one with 3 bosses, another one with 2 bosses, and never again. So, not so powerful right now with the current design of the content, but in the future, where she can face multiple enemies, this will be amazing. Also, in boss fights, if you want to just keep using the second skill, you can use second skill, then charge. Second skill, charge. Just that. She does not even need to use normal attack anymore, and the damage will be pretty high, especially if we get a Matriarch and she gets more agility coming from here and more STR. She will work pretty fine. And now just to compare, the characters that can come close are Gray, if he attacks 5 times with Yaksha Rancid, or Rufus. But Rufus attacks with 2 different attacks. The first one is blunt, and the second one is a 4S slash attack. But if the enemy is not resistant against blunt, if you compare the damage output, Rufus is probably on the top. But then we have Gray and Urpina very close. Urpina do not need to rely on RNG, she does constant damage, while Gray will need to attack 5 times and he needs RNG in order to do that. So that's why I say that Urpina is on the top of the slash category, and she also works for turn 2 onwards without having restrictions. Rufus gets paralyzed, and Gray loses damage potential. And now back to the banner animation. Is it worth summoning here? Guys, this is a very complicated question. Again, like all the time, unless the banner has 5 limited styles like we had with the Gradius banner, we cannot say for sure that a banner is worth summoning or not. Because in this case, Leonard and Elisabeth are not good. Urpina is amazing. And we go back to that type of decision where you are only chasing one good style. But then, usually for banners, they had some support. Urpina is just damage. I can see flash damage getting better characters after Urpina. I don't know. They may create something new because of global buffs. Support is a little more interesting when we invest because we know that they don't easily power creep support. Urpina is on the top of slash damage, in my opinion. She has a different gameplay, and I like characters with different gameplay. But I won't have the gems, so I have to skip her, probably. So in my opinion, it's still very hard to decide if you want to get her or not. I'm just trying to explain how powerful she become because of global buffs. So if you want the character, if you like it, if you lack slash damage, she's now even better than Gustav. Yeah, with a lower BP cost and a better cycling. That's it. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you want to support the channel, you can use here the links on the description of the video, and we see each other on the next one. Bye.